Hello, everyone. I am Deepika Sodhi, Academic Supervisor for International Curricula at GIIS Smart Campus. Welcome, everyone, to a wonderful session of Tête-à-Tête with our IBDP toppers. This episode is going to be exciting. I have with me 4 of our 14 world toppers from IBDP 2021 batch. Lavanya Swaminathan, Aatmaananda Nayak, Karan Narula, and Tushar Goel. All have scored 45 points, the highest score in the 2021 International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. They are among the cohort where 14 students topped and 50% students scored 40 grade points and above. The school average currently stands at 38.64 grade points. We all know that the results were announced earlier this month, and GIIS has made history by producing 14 world toppers in the same. We are expecting the numbers to go up further, but the celebrations have begun in all, which is why we are here today to talk to these accomplished stars. All 4 have worked hard for the last 2 years to reach the milestone, a deemed score for all IB students. And now they are ready to move on to the next phase of their life. They'll be starting their university life soon, and I welcome them all to this session today where they would share their journey with their juniors and all others who aspire to reach the topper status in IBDP. International Baccalaureate is a very rigorous, balanced, and broad curriculum. The overall grade is 45 points, which comes from 6 subjects that students study. Each subject graded at 7 grade points, making a total of 6 into 7, 42 grade points, plus 3 grade points coming from the core components. So there are 3 core components in the curriculum: theory of knowledge, creativity activity service, and a 4,000-word research paper called extended essay. Hence, this is the highest score that students can get. This rigorous, deep, balanced, and broad curriculum requires students to stay focused, persistent in their pursuits, and success follows. At GIIS, we nurture our students. We create and provide ample opportunities for them to excel in their endeavors. We try and give them wings to fly so that they can achieve their dreams. Welcome, all 4 of you. I'm very happy and excited to have you with me today. The academic results have always proved to be a turning point in anyone's life, more so in the life of students. Don't you think so? I invite one of my topper students to share how they think this IBDP academic result of theirs is like a turning point in their life. Lavanya, you've been with GIIS since kindergarten. Would you like to share your success story with us and how this result is a turning point in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me today. So the results are always an emotional moment for everyone involved, be it the students or the teachers, because the results are a culmination of multiple years of hard work and determination. Obviously, the most important part about the IB results is that they enable you to get into some of the world's best universities, and I myself have gotten results, have gotten offers from about 7 of the world's best engineering universities. But I think my IB results have a more metaphorical significance as well. Firstly, they have helped me prove to myself that if I can do well in a challenging course like IB, I can succeed anywhere and I can cope with the rigors of university. But it's also a way to mark the fact that high school is over and that adulthood is going to start soon. So maybe someday in the future, I'll look back and think about how IB was the close of my entire high school journey.
Thanks, Lavanya. That was interesting to share that you actually feel that this result is a turning point in your life. Tushar, would you like to share any point in your life as a student where the result changed your perspective on life? making you a risk taker and an open-minded individual?
Yes, of course. Well, I too began studying with GIS in kindergarten, and reaching this milestone successfully has definitely been a blast of joy and gratification. But it has also been a point of reflection for me. Now, I am and will always be an ordinary student. But the difference is that before, I looked at my university course, entrepreneurial career, and happy future as a far-fetched dream. Now I'm beyond content to see my IB scores. I'll be attending my dream course at my dream university, and I'm on my path to independence. The past 2 years that were nothing less of a roller coaster, as I would say, and these results have encouraged me to pursue extraordinary things. I have learned that it is only a matter of time before our dreams morph into aspirations. With this newfound passion and eagerness to try improbable tasks, I look forward to the day these aspirations become reality.
So I think I totally agree with what Tushar said. Passion, persistence, everything comes when you get to see those remarkable academic scores. Success is never easy. Every time you fail to achieve something, and I'm sure at some juncture you would have faced this, we all face this as humans. And then rather than wishing things were easier, you wish you were better. Karan, you made a switch from CBSE to IB diploma program. Have you ever faced a situation like this?
Yeah, failure is something that everyone has to deal with, irrespective of where they start from. And coming from CBSE, I did have a very strong base of fundamentals, and I was always taught techniques on how to learn new concepts. So I had a fundamental base to enter IB, but I realized that IB was a completely different ballgame. It's a very unique curriculum that brings with it a very unique set of problems. I think everybody discusses time management, and that's something a lot of students complain about. But a less discussed aspect for me was the kind of trial and error that goes into some IB projects. Some of us may be lucky enough to have finished our IAs on our first attempt, but this isn't true for everyone. For me, I had to change my chemistry IA topic 3 times before finalizing on one. My experiments worked in theory, but not necessarily in practice. These times were really stressful as an IB student because it's not just your IAs that need to be done. There's your Es, your TOK, other academic work within the main subject. But it became quite important for us because there was still a possibility that exams got cancelled. Our teachers really pushed us to refine our IAs, and they ended up coming out quite well. What I would like to tell students is that it's a noble goal to avoid failure, but if somehow it does come to you, accept it and work harder next time. These failures are a reality, and there's really no way to avoid it. I took each failure as an opportunity to learn, and I can confidently attribute my successes to it.
Yeah, I guess this affirms that your limitation is your only imagination. So push yourself. Always push yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. Now we have with us Atma. Atma, you have the shortest association with GIS. You've been with us only for last 2 years for International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. And you've attended other schools like NPS, boarding schools in India. Would you want to add on to what Karan just said as to how schooling at GIS helped you overcome your limitations and emerge as a winner?
First of all, I'd like to state that these academic results would not have been possible in any way were it not for the relentless support provided by the teachers within the school, but also the positive atmosphere created by my peers. I really can't thank all of you guys enough for treating me as though I'm one of your own, even though I joined the latest. But with that being said, the most important thing I can't stress enough is one's own hard work and perseverance. Take me, for example. In the 10th grade, I barely managed to scrape together only a single A star owing to my lack of effort and overconfidence. But once I joined GIS, this spurred a complete change in my mindset and work ethic. And now the grades that I got in IB indicate to me that the fruit of hard work is always born. The IB curriculum was quite extensive and rigorous and required us to apply ourselves in completely novel ways that I never knew before, but allowed for great personal growth as well. For example, in other boards usually, memorizing facts to the surface level, cramming the night before, that can help get you an A star or a 90% or whatever. But in IB, you have to really develop a deep understanding of the subject at a deep core level. So I can safely say that the past 2 years in GIS have shaped me in ways I could have never imagined. And I'm now equipped with the skills necessary to face this new world. So thank you.
I totally agree with you, Atma. Everyone feels IBDP is a broad, balanced, rigorous curriculum fostering independent and lifelong learning amongst learners. Do you feel that you have attained this superpower of being self-regulated and self-motivated learner via IBDP program at GIIS? Tushar, I would really love to hear from you.
Definitely. With this newfound superpower, I feel so much more prepared to step into the real world. This is because our education isn't limited to what is in the textbook. After class, I would think deeply about the new topics that I had just learned. For example, in business, we had learned about the concept of cash and how it differs from profit. This prompted me to research about the startups and the growing companies around us that failed despite their profitability. They just did not have enough cash. I later went on to analyze these factors in a startup of my choice for my research paper. Upon understanding the case study, I learned that companies can run out of cash if they grow too fast. Yes, if they grow too fast, they can run out of cash and therefore fail. This actually went on to help me prevent my own student startup from running into insolvency. The process opened my eyes to the concept of known unknowns. Every time I learn something, I think about it from different perspectives and new questions pop up. This further prompts me to explore more knowledge, and thus the cycle repeats. Questions, knowledge, questions, knowledge. This way, I have personally and professionally developed strengths and amended my weaknesses thanks to this superpower IB has gifted me.
Okay, that was nice to hear. So let's see if Atma acquired this superpower of being an independent, self-motivated learner.
Yes, ma'am. I think I did. In fact, I remember during our classes that you taught us for physics, ma'am, we used to have debates almost every other class on some topic you taught us. For when we were learning about chapter 7, we had a debate on the standard model of particle physics and whether the graviton really belonged there. And all these discussions happen in almost every class with every teacher. And the open-mindedness of both the teachers and students in GIS really allowed for traits like curiosity to prosper within the students. And that seems like it's nice, but it's actually very important for a board like IB, because like I mentioned before, it's not like any other board out there. Like in the physics, chemistry, and biology examinations, there are entire questions and sections dedicated to a concept called nature of science, wherein students are asked to explore theories and experiments about certain natural phenomena in a new way that they haven't discovered before on the board. So such questions are crafted to reward students who've been curious throughout the past 2 years and who really do look into experiments and understand how empirical data can be analyzed to come up with new models. So IP does reward curiosity, and it asks you to analyze and question everything that you see, because dogmas should never be the be-all and end-all.
Right. So I think that's how they always say that IB program is like a natural progression to university life. It prepares you for life. The 10 attributes combined with the 5 approaches to learning, they really prepare and make a student self-motivated. So Karan, how do you think the curriculum helped you become a self-motivated learner?
I think the skills that I accumulated while being part of the IB are going to stay with me for the rest of my academic career. The IB has a lot of work to be done. 6 subjects, each has an independent internal assessment. Factor in the theory of knowledge essay and presentation and the extended essay. And then you have your extracurricular activities and then college applications. There's a lot that needs to be done in the 2 years. I've learned how to balance my work without stretching myself too thin. Deciding and allocating time to different activities allowed me to give sufficient attention to each task without really compromising the quality of my work. I'm able to communicate my ideas and tasks clearly to my peers and to my teachers. My answer paints a very rosy picture of my time management skills, but there were definitely times where I felt overburdened with work. That is a reality of this rigorous curriculum. What I can say is that with the right company and effective communication with your teachers and using the resources around you, the curriculum becomes very manageable.
So I think definitely the curriculum is rigorous, but with your continuous focus, persistent efforts, you can achieve what you want to be and where you want to be. So Lavanya, how do you think that you are now a better prepared individual and a more self-motivated, self-regulated learner?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with the fact that the IB is an amazing stepping stone for university. And I also do believe that the qualities it emphasizes in its learner profile has helped me become a more independent and a more conscientious student. To give you an example, IB places immense importance on academic honesty, and it makes you a principled learner. And as an IB student, your teachers constantly stress the importance of having your own original ideas. And if you don't have your original ideas, at least properly acknowledge them.
Right.
So inculcating this honesty as early on as high school means that this quality is going to stick with you throughout university. I also think that aspects of the extended essay, like the option of world studies as a subject, encourages you to research current affairs issues and helps you be a student that cares about the world around you. So I truly believe that each aspect of the IB curriculum inculcates some important quality or another in you. It's just that you only realize its importance after you've graduated. So always keep that in mind when you go through the course. Don't give up in between.
It was so overwhelming to hear each one of you talking about the 10 learner attributes that you've acquired during these 2 years of your life. Being knowledgeable, inquirers, thinkers, principled, open-minded, balanced communicators. And I think these are the skills that universities look for. The admission counselors look for. They can scan through your personal essays, your profiles, and they can make out. So the attributes and of course, the overall curriculum prepares you for life. And I'm really happy to hear from you that we as teachers and the team as GIIS has been able to imbibe in you, to set you apart, to set you ready to be those self-motivated people, ready to conquer the world. There's a very common Japanese proverb: sitting with one motivating teacher for 1 hour is equivalent to 10 days of hard self-work. Did you ever experience this while sitting with your extended essay supervisors for your EE drafts, or while sitting with your TOK in charges for reviewing your TOK essays? And how did that help you to move forward? So Lavanya, would you want to share the reflections on support provided to you by your supervisors and teachers?
The perfect example of the proverb you quoted, ma'am, can be seen in my extended essay. Like I mentioned earlier, I did a world studies extended essay, and I incorporated the subjects of global politics and economics to make an economic forecast about the impacts of secessionist movements in the world. And this is always a very daunting challenge, to take on a research project in a field that you're not too confident in, or take up a research project in a completely new field. But I think what made the difference in my extended essay was having an experienced supervisor. I'd really like to particularly thank my EE supervisor, Deepika ma'am, because she was the one who helped me build a cohesive essay. I remember one particular instance where I sat with her towards the end of my EE, and I was still really tense about submitting it, and I had many concerns about how my structure would hold when it was being corrected. And she calmly listened to all my anxieties and just started listing things one by one about how I could improve. And just listening to her was such an inspirational moment to me, and I feel that that one conversation gave me a eureka moment that completely changed my essay around. We were just talking to each other, bouncing ideas off each other. It was just an extremely productive and inspirational session. And I think that really made the difference in my extended essay. So looking back, had I not had the constructive inputs of my EE supervisor, I might have lost my way, and my EE might not have turned out as well as it could have. And my EE journey certainly was long, dynamic, and it can really test your patience. But my advice would be always remember that you have an incredible supervisor by your side who will, guide you back on the right track.
That was so nice to hear from you, Lavanya. And I would like to add, most all of our teachers are actually trained and experienced. Many of them themselves are EE examiners. So we mark extended essays for IB. And therefore, this rich experience, this rich expertise always comes back. And it's for you, our dear students. So Karan, I would love to hear from you. Maybe you would want to add to like how Lavanya shared, how she was overwhelmed with the supervisor and her extended essay got completely changed. How about you, Karan?
I think TOK was a subject that I ended up enjoying the most in the entire IB spectrum. And this interest is completely attributed to my teacher, who was Rashida ma'am. She made the classes extremely interactive and had a lot of participatory activities. Even when classes went online, she encouraged us to debate amongst ourselves and participated usually just as a moderator, only giving her insights at the end of our discussions. This really allowed me to explore each concept very deeply and on my own. There was much less the teacher's involvement. It was more of a guidance kind of class. So my TOK essay ended up being one of the papers I was most proud of. Every year, 6 titles are released, and we have to choose one out of these 6 and write about it. And you usually write about it from the perspective of 2 subject areas. So I chose to write on the topic of how do we differentiate between change and progress. And I wrote from the perspective of history and natural sciences. We get the essays somewhere around November, and we have to submit it around February. So it was about a 3-4 month long process. It's definitely a stressful process because TOK is a very vast subject, and to narrow everything down into 1600 words really tests your ability to understand the concept and put it in a very brief and understandable way. Rashida ma'am really guided me through this process, and through her insights, I think I wrote an essay that impressed the examiners, which I hope it did. So what I can say about Rashida ma'am is that if you give a man to fish, you feed him for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. The DP program wasn't for me as much about learning the content from a textbook. It was to learn how to learn. And I think all my teachers achieved this goal quite successfully.
Right. I think I would like to add on to what Karan said. Theory of knowledge, areas of knowing and ways of knowing. People dread it because it involves a lot of research, a lot of perspectives by looking at how you acquire knowledge and various types of knowledge. So I'm happy, Karan, that having moved from a CBSE background, though usually IGCSE students do get some exposure of research via global perspectives, but having moved and switched over the curriculum, you adjusted so well, and your theory of knowledge essay came out to be so well, where you mentioned it was just for a span of 3 to 4 months. So definitely TOK in charges and the experienced team does bring its expertise to the students, and I think it went to some extent, and in fact to large extent in your case. Atma, would you like to add to Karan's perspective?
Yes, ma'am, sure. So first of all, my extended essay was a golden opportunity for me to explore my interests in chemistry and biology together in a structured manner with guidance from my teachers. My EE, which was the World Studies EE, focused on the various factors that contributed to the Ebola virus crisis of 2014. So the EE usually is a chance for you to explore something that has relevance in today's world, and the viral pandemics are clearly quite relevant today. But however, for me, I remember getting quite carried away with my enthusiasm to the point where my first draft more closely resembled a shabbily and structured encyclopedia rather than actually well-informed report. Had it not been for the several discussions I had with my supervisor, which was Deepika ma'am, I'm pretty sure that my essay would not have been the seamlessly incorporated one it turned out to be. But not just her. I have to mention my chemistry teacher, Vasu sir, and my biology teacher, Sudha ma'am as well, for helping me identify the correct reactions, the Fenton reactions, and the correct ecosystems in which the virus was able to transmit. All these things are only possible to me because as a GIIS student, I benefited from having the most highly qualified teachers. Professionals in the respective fields offer me their highly valuable perspectives. So for me, it made writing the E an eye-opener, as well as one of the most enriching experiences, because I actually got to understand the perspective of a professional and how to actually go about analyzing situations in those fields. So thank you.
Thanks, Atma. Yes, writing world studies extended essay is definitely a challenge, being combination of two subjects, and you need to explore both subjects together, weigh them together, and then come up to a conclusion. So I'm happy your EE experience came out to be so positive and enriching. Tushar, any inputs from your end on this aspect?
Well, honestly, this proverb describes my gratefulness to my teachers so accurately, especially for TOK, which is in itself such an intricate subject. Sometimes I would write things, and when I reread the next day, they don't make sense anymore. Yeah, it was like that. I remember confidently submitting my TOK essay draft to my supervisor, Shivalik ma'am. It was also on differentiating between change and progress. Turned out the draft was just me rambling about unstructured claims. However, I did not feel I was back to square one. Ma'am's feedback provided me with a logical direction. Despite starting from scratch, I wrapped my draft much quicker with far better quality. So if I were to put in a line, it's like I went from banging my head against a wall to learning how to climb the wall. Similarly, our extended essay is supposed to be a high-level academic research paper. So fortunately for me, my business EE supervisor is a PhD, and she was well versed with the formal conventions of a research paper. I conducted an analysis on the financial viability of BlueSG, the electric car hiring service in Singapore. During our discussions, my supervisor taught me how to really harness the true power of statistical analysis. You mentioned days. I say that it would have taken me years and lots of mistakes to learn this otherwise.
Yeah. So I think, yes, the core component of extended essay theory of knowledge also is equally significant because it adds to those 3 valuable grade points that can actually reach that highest potential or highest score of 45 grade points. So I'm so happy that you've had that enriching experience, and that same goes for all other students enrolled in your batch and in the successive batches to come. As a passionate physics teacher for the past 23 years, and after having spent more than 2 decades in the classroom with students, I strongly believe teaching is a profession that creates all other professions. We as teachers strive to develop skills and create future leaders. All teachers at GIIS are experienced. They come with the rich experience of more than 10 years of IBDP experience. 70% of us are IBDP examiners, and we bring this expertise to class. When we mark papers for IB, we bring that and share our experiences, share our tips with these students. And all teachers at GIIS work cohesively to inspire students to set benchmarks for themselves and achieve the goals. I'm sure you all would have seen your dream come true, and you've attained placements in your dream courses and your dream colleges. So how do you think the cohesion between all GIIS teachers and career counselor cell or career counselor office with a team of career counselors here helped you achieve your dream choices? Let's hear it from Tushar.
Yes, ma'am. There are so many intimidating components of an application, along with the negligible acceptance rate for my dream course. I was expecting a rejection, but we ultimately made it through. I know for a fact that I couldn't have done it without knocking on Seema ma'am's door every day, and the recommendation letters that Haritika ma'am, Srinivas sir, and you yourself wrote for me. I don't know what was written in those letters, but it's clear to me that you understand me as a student more than myself.
Agree. We as teachers have to understand our students more than them to be able to write those letters that we are recommending them for a given course at a given college. And trust me, that makes a lot of difference because admission officers rely on the recommendations that we as teachers provide for you. Karan, let's hear if you've been able to achieve your dream college, your dream course.
I think there's a lot of angst when it comes to applying to colleges. And there's a lot of differing interpretations of the different application processes. But I think Sia ma'am did a wonderful job at organizing seminars to give us a good insight into the different college systems and the different requirements as well. Moreover, I'd love to thank Deepak sir and Rashida ma'am, who wrote fantastic letters of recommendations, and that got me into so many good universities. Contrary to popular belief, the college application process is not really an individual endeavor. There are so many parties other than yourself that are involved in the application process, but they're all unified in achieving what's best for you.
Right. Atma, would you want to add to what Karan just shared?
Honestly, ma'am, Karan really put everything quite elegantly. So I don't think I could have said any better. I have complete trust in the teachers that they'll do what's best for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like how Karan said, it's not just you as an individual, or it's not just your subject teachers or your core component teachers. There are many other factors that go in together to write that recommendation letter for you. Let's hear from Lavanya.
I mean, Karan and Tushar both spoke incredibly well about the support we've received during our college applications. And Seema ma'am, our career counselor, was always so helpful. She was always open to clarify doubts. I could just drop into her office, or I could just text or email her anytime. And she was always there to patiently explain whatever I needed to understand. And she was very sympathetic with the anxiety that that high school students go through when they're applying to college. And of course, like most people, I had the ambitions of applying to some of the world's best engineering colleges. And that's always a daunting process, because not only are their acceptance rates pretty low, you always fear failure, and that might prevent you from fulfilling your potential. But Seema ma'am was always there to support me, and she always supported the choices I made. And she gave me some incredible feedback on my personal statements and my essays that really helped strengthen my application and got me as many offers as I did. So I am really grateful to her for all that she's done for me.
And I think in the beginning today, you did mention that you have nearly 7 offers in your hand.
Yeah.
From the most reputed colleges and top 50 or 20 universities. So that's nice to hear. And career counseling office at GIIS is very strong, with the team of career counselors available 24/7 for the entire support that a student would need, right from academics to co-scholastics. The IB mission is to develop active, compassionate, lifelong learners ready to create a better and a peaceful world. Do you all feel that GIIS 9 GEMS holistic pedagogical model has helped you to become an IB ready learner, young adult, ready to conquer the world? Let's try and see. Lavanya, do you think that 9 GEMS played a role, or mapping of 9 GEMS with IB learner attributes helped you in some way?
Yeah, so I've been in GIIS since kindergarten, like you mentioned earlier. And even before IB started, I've had so many experiences because of the 9 GEMS program that helped me set me up for success in the IB program, and even later on in life during my university. But if there were one experience that I've had with GIIS that I need to talk about today, it'll be my Interact Club experience. GIIS is one of the few schools in Singapore that has an Interact Club program as well established and as well connected with the Rotary Club of Singapore. And this opportunity has given me exposure to so many different communities and so many different people. And I've really learned to open myself up to new perspectives. I've also been super fortunate to be a part of some extremely meaningful community service activities, and it feels good when you are able to contribute to noble causes. The most recent of which was a virtual fundraiser that we held to support migrant workers amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. And yeah, just the process of planning these community service activities in my capacity as a leader in the Interact Club allowed me to exercise my leadership skills and just become a better person, more communicative, more empathetic, someone who listens to other people's concerns and is just respectful of other people's cultures and values. So I think that without the 9GEMS program giving me the exposure to something as important as Interact Club, I probably would not have set myself up for success in my university placements during IB, and even in general when I move on to university and take part in my activities.
Right. I think, as I mentioned, IB mission statement itself says that they are looking for compassionate learners. And I'm happy that one of our 9GEMS, University Connection and Care, has activities all aligned under that. And then, of course, the component of IB, which is Creativity Activity Service. So they go together to develop compassionate young learners, which Lavanya did mention very beautifully in her words. Karan, let's try to hear how 9GEMS, I think, helped you to be what you are today.
Yeah, so I have always been an orator. I love to speak in formal events. I love interacting with people. So for me, it was a no-brainer to go into activities like Debate Club and Model United Nations. So in IB, I founded the Debate Club with one of my friends for GIIS. And during the pandemic, we organized a virtual debate, which ended up getting more than 90 participants. And the school really helped us with setting up the digital infrastructure, obviously. But apart from that, it was just the entire process of planning, just as Lavanya mentioned. It's a very feel-good experience because you're doing something completely independently. Of course, you have help from other people, but the entire process that GIIS fosters for independence is really amazing for me. The other event, which was Model United Nations, the Global Indian International School Model United Nations, is one of the events I'm most proud of. It was a very stressful thing for the entire organizing team. We postponed it twice and we had to shift it online. And this is the first time that it happened online for the entirety of GIIS. So it was a new experience for many of us, but I think we adapted quite well and it ended up having a very successful conference. So GIIS provides very meaningful experiences to all its students and provides opportunities to them to try out different skills. And that's what I really appreciate about the holistic system of 9GEMS.
Right. I think, Karan, you've very beautifully summed up the one of the gems that we have on personality development, because all the activities that you mentioned, not just personality development and then talking of innovation, right? If the world had to move online due to COVID, we were ready to move online, even in terms of events. It was not just for classes, even events, as Karan, you rightly mentioned, online MUN, online debate, online ceremonies that changed the perspective of you as a leader of so many other students who are, of course, leaders and going to be future leaders in their own field. So, Atma, I would like to hear your experiences from 9GEMS.
Thanks, ma'am. So GIIS really does offer a plethora of opportunities to its students. Me, I was very fortunate to be a part of the athletics team of GIIS. But I remember when I first joined, I had the misconception that the training would only consist of, a couple of laps and some push-ups, and that'd be the end of the day. I soon realized just how wrong I was. Every single session pushed us to our limits, both mentally and physically. And I remember after every single session, all of us would be sweating, unable to walk even. But in hindsight, I can say that was quite a blessing in disguise, because were it not for those intense hour-long sessions, I may not have developed the mental fortitude necessary to focus and study for hours and then without giving up, which is probably one of the reasons we were all able to get these academic results. Plus, health as well. And countless studies have shown that an active lifestyle really does translate to academic results. The 9GEMS model of GIIS really does ensure that students develop into well-rounded individuals with interests and experiences in several different aspects of life.
So it was nice to hear on the gem of sports excellence, that is physical fitness. And you nicely put it that how balancing academics with sports does help, and you get that holistic experience that you are aspiring for. Tushar, anything to add from your end on this?
Thanks to the 9GEMS approach, I was never really worried when universities asked for holisticity. I have been in GIIS since kindergarten, and it has been a concrete approach to my all-round development. I love the creativity, innovation, and problem-solving gem the most because of how embedded it is within GIIS culture. Even when I had physics with you, ma'am, you would first give us hints for our doubts before directly answering the question. This always pushed us to think about the problem ourselves. We were always given the independence to pursue personal projects. My drive for astronomy and climate action sparked the idea of initiating these two clubs in our school. We were given the freedom, along with the responsibility, of course, to implement actions that were our thought implementations. We partnered up with the Science Center to host a really nice and beautiful constellation planetarium for the Astronomy Club. As for the Climate Action Club, we got to invite renowned speakers for a symposium on AI in climate change. The questions we naturally raise are not can we do it, but rather how do we do it?
Right. So creativity, innovation, problem solving, I think need of the hour. If we were not creative, if we were not innovative, if we were not problem solvers, we would not have been able to conquer COVID the way we've done. So 2020, as the world knows, has been an unusual year. COVID-19 has changed the future of education. And your batch went through this turbulence for more than a year before you appeared for IBDP external board examination. This means you covered all your internal assessment components, sometimes during lockdown, sometimes via HBL, sometimes with partial online virtual mode. Do you think that GIIS was always prepared to conquer this challenge of switching from face-to-face interactions to Zoom overnight? What were your first-hand experiences on this as a student? So one of you can go first. Atma, would you like to go first here?
Sure, ma'am. To be perfectly honest, at first, everyone had the inhibitions about how effective the online classes would really be. But I think now it's safe to say that our fears were allayed. Each teacher adapted his or her teaching style to the online platform to make sure that we continued receiving education at the same standard as before. For example, ma'am, I'll take a physics class again. Chapter 11 of physics, which is electromagnetic induction, was not one that I was really comfortable in. However, you ensured that with each subtopic within each chapter, exploration in great detail occurred during the homebreaker learning period, house-based learning period, using graphs, equations, and derivations that, though necessarily weren't in syllabus, helped us gain a mastery of the subject. In fact, I developed so much confidence in electromagnetic induction that I was able to center my physics eye around that chapter itself.
Okay, so I think you mentioning about how online helped you to be a better learner because it gave more constructive time to go beyond the textbook, because it did allow to go out of the box because of the time that we got to spend. It was never during school hours. We could extend our classes anytime after school hours on Saturdays and ensure that the learning happens the way it would have happened in the physical real world. So Lavanya, what was your first-hand experience on this?
The school handled the transition from physical to online classes extremely well. And that started with the fact that we all had school-issued laptops. So that really made our lives easier when it came to starting online classes immediately. I also initially was scared that the classes wouldn't be as interactive or as intense as they would be if they were physical. But again, I was really impressed throughout the online class period because my teachers continued to engage me throughout the online classes and continued to keep my mind stimulated. So I never felt that my academics were compromised during the pandemic. To supplement our online classes as well, our teachers used platforms like Google Classroom and ManagePack, and they were always open to communicating through email, through text message, and they were always accessible to us whenever we had our doubts. So it was always nice to have that extra support during online classes.
Okay, right. So I think, Tushar, would you like to share your experience now?
Yes, ma'am. I strongly agree with what has been said already. But another thing to keep in mind is that during home-based learning, I had read in the newspaper about how major difficulties were popping up in other schools when the entire process started. That's when I realized that our teachers use Zoom meetings, camera technologies, and teaching software like it was child's play, even though the technology was just as new as it was to them as it was to us. In fact, I learned quite a bit about using technology to assist in my personal studying. The smooth digitization makes explicit the school's technology and versatility.
So I think happy to hear that you did mention technology was as new to you, as new to us, but I think we all accepted the change in a very positive manner and gracefully. Karan, your experiences?
Yeah, so I think GIS had a very proactive response to the then possible pandemic. We didn't know if we were actually going to enter a lockdown. So GIS ended up installing cameras and other video conferencing equipment well in advance. So the transition into online classes was smooth. Um, what I'm also what I was really happy about was how well teachers adapted to the online environment. uh, One particular thing that is amusing to me now, which was using Kahoot quizzes more. Somehow I managed to get every question right and still lose, but it was still a very fun experience because the online classes weren't exactly ideal. They were taught well, but it was also it was like an experience that had been taken away from us of being in school. But I think the teachers really did go the extra mile to make sure that we enjoyed every class online as well.
Right. So I think, in short, technologically advanced and fully digitized smart campus was a game changer. It is indeed overwhelming to listen to your experiences, and I'm sure our audience feels the same. I really wish to hear your mantra, one tagline that always kept you going. Lavanya?
I think the pandemic was hard on everyone because we couldn't meet our friends and we had to stay cooped up inside our houses for the whole time. But then the one thing that kept me going was the idea that bad times don't last forever. So be it with the pandemic or when I was dealing with a tricky assignment, this mantra has always kept me optimistic and has kept me enthused about working hard even during the hardest and bleakest times.
Right. So well said. Bad times do not last forever. And we wish the bad times that the globe is facing right now will also not last forever. Moving on to Karan, your mantra.
So my mantra was that the IB is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not a perfect metaphor, but it really summarizes my understanding of the program. You can't wake up in the last month before the exam and decide to start working hard. It may have worked before in 10th grade, maybe, but it really won't work here. In the same manner, you cannot keep working nonstop for 2 years. Find time to do the things you love, go out with a friend, play a sport, anything other than studying. Burnout can become a real problem and can come really fast. You don't want to have to deal with that if you have an important deadline coming. The key to success in the IB is balance. Yes, your academics are important, but your mental and physical health contribute as much to your success as the number of hours you spent in front of a textbook.
Right. Atma, your mantra?
I don't quite remember where I saw it, ma'am, but the phrase, it's often the last key in the bunch that opens the lock, resonated most with me. From what I've seen so far, success usually never stems from the first attempt. Try different methods and different techniques, and if they all fail, use those failures as stepping stones to adopt different methods. After all, if you find out what doesn't work for you, you'll be one step closer to finding out what does.
Right. What doesn't work for you makes you actually realize what will really work for you. So that was nice to hear. And I'm also learning a lot of mantras today from you. Tushar, your mantra?
Well, ma'am, I have always walked by a phrase you may have heard Steve Jobs say, stay hungry, stay foolish. Of course, stay hungry, stay foolish at the dinner table, but also stay hungry, stay foolish as a learner. It really encouraged me to be ready to try new things and step out of my comfort zone whenever I see a challenge that's coming up.
So stay hungry, stay foolish. So one should always keep aspiring to learn more, to know more. One message that you would want to leave for your juniors as a takeaway from today's session. Tushar, one message that you would want to leave for your juniors?
Wow, this is a good question, ma'am. I would say that we all start IB with the mindset that it is an obstacle and it can only be overcome by stressfully studying till 2 in the morning. That is not true, my friends. I am one IB student with 24 hours in the day. My teachers handled 60 IB students with 24 hours. My parents managed to provide me with everything I want with 24 hours. Steve Jobs revolutionized technology with 24 hours. Well, how do they do it? How are they so much more productive than us? The secret is patience, productivity, and perseverance. Be patient and keep moving forward step by step. Don't stress about the destination when you're only at the starting point. Furthermore, to be productive, Admiral McRaven, a Navy SEAL, had advised to start off by making your bed, because that one successful completion of a task provides the motivation to complete many more tasks by the end of the day. Finally, set daily goals that you need to complete by 10 p.m. no matter the distractions. Trust me, you will enjoy IB as a fun challenge with 8 hours of sleep every day.
I love that message, Tushar. 3 P's: patience, perseverance, persistence. I think really a mantra for IBDP. Let's hear from Lavanya, one message that you would want to leave for the audience.
Right. I think that would be don't stress yourself out too much. I know that IB can be an overwhelming course and that there are a lot of difficulties associated just with the IB program. But remember that there are about 100 other students going through the same things as you are in the same school and same class. And that there are always these amazing and dedicated teachers who are there to support you, and they'll get you back on path if you find yourself going astray. So if you feel overwhelmed, feel stressed, reach out to the people around you and support yourself with positive people who will help you navigate these 2 years.
Right. So I think support yourself with positive people is what Lavanya's takeaway that she would want to give to her juniors. What would you like to add to Atma?
One of the most important things will be to never be discouraged and always believe in yourself, because not just in IB, but throughout life as well, there will always inevitably be downs. So for me, there were several times where I believe I'd studied well for a test, where I had actually done well in the test. At least that's what I thought. But the outcome ended up being disappointing sometimes. The most important things in these times was to never give up and never let myself down. If you believe that you can succeed, you're already halfway there.
So you're halfway there if you believe you can succeed. So I think that belief to succeed should always be there. Moving on to Karan. Karan, your message for our audience.
I think I share a very similar belief to Lavanya. The most important thing I would say to you is to keep in mind that you aren't in IB alone. There are more than 170,000 people who write the exam each year. Find people who are in the same boat as you, who share your interests, your motivations, people who drive you to do better. I can't be more thankful for my teachers for their guidance, but more importantly, I would like to thank my friends since year one. They all have done incredibly well, and I attribute so much of my results to their motivation. Find your group of friends as early as possible. I can guarantee that this will lift a huge burden off your shoulder and give you a support system that is crucial for you to succeed.
So I think Karan really wanted to add communication with right people at right time is the key as a takeaway to today's session. So I'm sure the session would have given deeper insights to upcoming batches and parents who are looking forward to IBDP as a preferred curriculum choice. Just to summarize, what would any parent want and wish for his or her child? A world-class education at affordable price from trained, experienced faculty with best academic grades leading to top university placements. If you have the above parameters in your mind, your search ends here with GIIS, a digitally advanced smart campus that offers a next-gen learning environment with 30% to 40% lower fees compared to other international schools. 70% of IBDP faculty are IB trained, and having spent more than 10 years at GIIS, they share their rich experience and expertise with children. And in case you are interested to know more, please feel free to approach us, and our team of dedicated admission counselors shall reach out to you. I, on behalf of entire management, would like to take this opportunity to thank our 4 world toppers who joined us today in this conversation, and the other 10 toppers who also made us proud and brought laurels to our school. Thank you so much for joining us.